Welcome to the Lifebox Media Channel Radio Podcast. It's my esteemed pleasure today to have on actress, entertainer, singer, Rebecca Holden. How are you today?
Hello, good morning. I'm doing great, thank you.
Thank you so much for
How
coming
are you?
on. Very good,
during
thank
these
you.
crazy times?
Very good, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to come on today, Rebecca. I really appreciate it. Yeah, these crazy times, how you holding up? How you hunkering down and all those good things?
Well, I'm still working a lot and a lot of projects and doing a lot of interviews like this one for some projects that are coming out, as well as developing a few film projects and just keeping busy as ever. It's sad though, because so many of my friends, people are feeling a little down and isolated these days, and so music has always been my go-to, and I still do all the music for my church, and music is an uplifter of the spirit, as they say. So we're all hoping that this can be over, soon, so that everybody can get back together again and visit and socialize. That's what people are about, is relationships and friendships and family.
Absolutely, I totally agree. From your lips to God's ears, please. And it's funny you talk about singing, because people a lot of times remember you for so many iconic roles on television and everything else, but you are an accomplished singer.
Well, music has been a part of my life since I was a very little girl. I started piano, I think, when I was 7. My mother had a nursery school and kindergarten, and we all had lots of music there, and I was a song leader, and then I was in all the musicals, played piano for the choirs as well as sang in them, was in all the musical productions, and then you're in the South, in Tennessee. I had a record deal on Curb Records there in Nashville. When I was in high school, I did the Six Flags Over Texas shows, all the live shows there, productions, and continued to study voice and piano in New York, and privately with a teacher from Juilliard. And it was in New York that I was discovered by an agent, put under contract as the Brett girl for Brett Shampoo, and that led to lots of other commercials: Ivory Soap, Gentine, and Chevrolet, and Kellogg's, and so on. And Aaron Spelling, the very prolific television producer in Los Angeles, saw one of my commercials that aired on the Super Bowl, and my agent sent me out to the West Coast, and television just opened their doors to me, which is a true blessing, and my life sort of took a different turn than I had ever anticipated, into acting and so on. But music has always been a real foundation for me. I think they say music picks up where words leave off. It's an encourager and an inspirer, a source of inspiration for us all. And I think I still go to that even in my private life. I play piano and sing every day. There's just something about music that connects you with yourself, connects you with others, connects you with God. That's why God gave us music, I think, because it speaks to our hearts, So yes, music has always been a part of my life. I still sing for a lot of charity events, and there aren't any right now.
Right,
Everything has been shut down. But I did continue to sing for a lot of things, sing the national anthem for a lot of sporting events and things, even during all the acting. But my life, sort of in a career way, did take that turn, which opened up a lot of new, wonderful experiences, and traveling around the world and meeting lots of wonderful people, which is what life is about.
I'll tell you what. It's funny, sometimes how paths change like that. But who did you look up for when you were starting off and you were younger? Did you think about being in show business because you were already performing at church and school and everything? Is that what your dreams were?
Actually, as a little girl growing up in Texas, that wasn't even in my purview. I loved music for the music itself. It never occurred to me that I would ever have a life as a career other than being a music teacher or being a school teacher. A life in front of the camera never even crossed my mind. That was not something I ever even thought about, really. So my life had doors open to me that were unexpected. And I feel very, very blessed to have had the career and the experiences that I've had.
You talk about who are some of your influences growing up music-wise? Who did you look up for and just say, oh, man, if I was going to sing, that's who I want to do?
Well, I always loved the voices of Karen Carpenter and Linda Ronstadt. And I think I admired Linda because she could sing almost any genre.
She could sing the phone book, I mean.
Yes. Even the big band sings. She did a Spanish album. I mean, she really could cross all lines. She could sing country as well as pop, as well as rock and roll. And so that's been interesting on my latest album. I have sung with some of the big icons from Engelbert Humperdinck to John Cicada and Gary Puckett and Little Anthony and Howard Hewitt, who, Babyface calls him the voice. So marvelous voices and singing different genres and creating the vocal arrangements to match my voice with each different style of singer. And so that's been fun. But yeah, I sang country and classical. I was a music major in college, so you don't really major in pop or country music. you study classical and, sing Italian arias and French art songs and German lieder. And that classical training, I think, has stood me well through performing on the road, because if your technique is solid, then you can endure the rigors of the road, so to speak, and keep your voice. And then you sort of change the style according to each genre. Of course, you're not going to sing in a classical style if you're singing country music. So the style changes, but that basic solid foundation is something that kind of is your rock to cling to. And of course, studying music and music theory allows you to transpose songs into the proper keys and arrange and of course I can accompany myself on the piano, which is nice, and especially during these times when at church we don't have our regular pianist or anyone there, so it's kind of, I just go in on Saturdays on the weekend and record some songs for our online services. And I think we had one day of services, and then they locked us all down again here in California. How are things going in Nashville in that regard?
Well, my dear, I mean, kind of the same thing. We were we were closed down, and it was working great. We opened up for a while, and wear your mask, please, people.
Yeah.
I mean, but basically the same thing. And I know Nashville's near and dear to you. I know you got family here and stuff, and that's really great. So we're all trying.
It's a great town. Are you from there? Did you live there all your life?
No, remember, I'm a San Antonio boy originally. I'm a Texas boy.
You're Texas too. That's right. We Texans stick together.
Yeah, that's right, girl. I mean, let me tell you something. One of the most welcoming people. People forget. And you and I talked about it, that I did Night Rider way back several times as a young guy, and very welcoming crew, by the way, and really appreciated that. You were always very welcoming, Danny, where I've seen you and everything else. So I just wanted to pass that along to you as a personal note. You're always one of those people.
That's so nice to hear. It was a nice crew, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a fantastic crew. I mean, for a young guy going on, it can be very intimidating, to go onto a set, and work with people and everything else. So it was very, very appreciative. But I mean, and when things flip,
and when you're working on a show like that over a long period of time, it becomes sort of like a family. And I had that wonderful experience. I've also had, like you did, I worked on many shows as a guest star, and you walk on the set, and you can tell instantly the first day you walk on the set whether it's a happy set or not, because you're sort of walking into an environment.
Yeah, if there's icicles and it's a refrigerator, it can be a long day at the office. But it wasn't that case.
I've been very lucky that I've had a lot of wonderful experiences. But I mean, every working set is their own unit and has their own uniqueness. So as a guest star, you have to walk in and you have to adapt into whatever situation it is, and it's always a challenge working with new people and new directors and getting into their style of working, so to speak. So I can understand how you felt.
Right, exactly. And now, and it's funny, and I'm gonna bring up a little tidbit here. Your Knight Rider thing. Is it true that you're the only other person besides David Hasselhoff that drove Kit?
Well, I think so. I think I'm the only female that ever drove Kit. I'm trying to think if on any other seasons anybody did, but
That's what the internet says, so it kind of has to be true.
It's probably true. The internet never lies, does it? But I do remember that day, and of course, when driving on set is very different than driving in normal life. You're trying to stay in camera range and hit the mark with the car, and when the director yells action, that's all you're focused on.
Right.
And it wasn't until after he said cut, and I was walking back to my dressing room, and I thought, hey, that was a pretty historical moment.
That's one of the pin notes out there about the show, is that you're the only person that's besides David Hasselhoff that drove Kit. So I was like, hey, look, I didn't know this, and I watched the show and was on the show, and I'm like, wait a minute here. Well, you know what? I might as well ask you while I got you on. I mean,
yeah. Well, mainly I was taking care of him all the time.
Right, exactly.
and Bill Daniels, who did Kit's voice, was never on set with us. He always did the voiceover. He had the best job in show business. And he didn't have to go through hair and makeup and wardrobe, and he just showed up, like a half an hour each week just in the looping room and just put his voice down. So we did not have him on set with us, and his lines were just read by a script girl, sort of in a monotone, and we had to imagine how Bill would say the lines. He had such charm and humor, that dry wit, and react accordingly. But a lot of fun times on that set.
Absolutely. And you've done some of the most, remarkable shows on TV, from, like you said, guest starring in everything from Three's Company, to Barney Miller. I didn't know you were on Barney Miller. That was really cool, because I love that cast, and I knew a couple of them.
They were great. Yeah, I love doing the sitcoms. Comedy has always been a favorite for me, and I have to think that it has something to do with the timing, because it's funny when the line lands at a certain place. It's like the boom. I don't know how to describe it. It's just in your head, but it's a musical thing, and that's where the humor comes from. And so I think maybe that's why my little knack for comedy kind of came into play. But I loved doing the sitcoms, and you did them. Well, Barney was different. Barney, we did like a full camera shoot without an audience, but most of the sitcoms were done in front of a live audience. So you rehearsed it like a play. You did your blocking and all that during the week, and then we shot it in front of a live audience, and they would turn the crowd for the second audience, so that you weren't that audience wasn't hearing the lines for a second time. So you had a new audience and new laughter. But Danny Arnold came back to direct my episode, who was the original, creator and all of the show. So, and he was a perfectionist, and I was told that he had, in front of the live audiences, the audiences would be there for so long that they finally gave up doing it with a live audience. So when I did the show, we didn't have an audience, but those guys, they were wonderful. Ron Glass, and they were. I remember sitting waiting while we were waiting for another scene to be done, and they were just naturally funny. We laughed all day long.
I love that.
It was a real. And then a lot of the same guys did Night Court.
Right.
Yeah, and I loved doing that show. In fact, they asked me to do a second one that Harry Anderson was going to direct, and I was already booked on something else. I couldn't do it, but I would have loved to. That was a really fun show.
Really? Yeah. I never had comedies. I can be funny off the set. But I mean that's the funny thing of that. But I mean, so is that one of those things that you still even like to do now?
Yeah, I don't think they're doing too many sitcoms anymore, but I love it. I love it. I wish they would.
Yeah,
and I mean, I still love, when you see the old reruns of the Dick Van Dyke Show and I Love Lucy and all of those. It's funny. I read a biography of Lucy where she said she didn't think funny. She said, "You give me good lines, I can act funny," and that was her forte. She could take them and run with them.
That's a cool thought of that. I mean, I think just timing's just magical on that idea of things, and sometimes it just pops in there like such, and then all of a sudden it is. But it's a true talent to be a comedic actor.
Well, it's a lot of fun, and you have a lot of fun doing it. and you have to be quick and flexible, because many times the writers will be on the set, and a line just isn't working, and they'll ask the writers right there, give us something else. And so you have to be a quick study, and like I say, flexible.
Right. That's a great lesson. That's a great lesson for all those young actors out there, or those actors that may be just looking for the extra edge on something. That's a great lesson right there. I appreciate you sharing that as well.
Well, I can tell you something else along those same lines. Many times I would get in the makeup chair at 5 a.m. on Night Rider, and I would get a whole new set of pages, because whatever they had worked out for Kit to be able to do, the prop guy wasn't able to make it happen. So they invented all of these various gadgets and so on, and then and they made up these long technical names that they were fictional. So you might get a whole new set of pages with a whole different avenue for Kit to be doing that day, with a new gadget and new words, and you'll get all new lines to memorize in the makeup chair and be ready to set. So being a quick study does help.
Right. Yeah. And then there's technical things happen. Matter of fact, we're having a little bit of storms here. If I lose you, please just know I didn't hang up on you.
Okay. It happens in this technical world we live in.
Right. Exactly. Because it's been so great to have you on. But okay. So anyway, what are you working on right now? I mean, obviously, Robert Goodwin introduced me to you, and you're looking at working on a future part of Bucks of America, which is a really cool project.
And that's a wonderful project. I haven't seen the final script yet, but they've asked me to play Mercy Otis Warren. The Bucks of America is about the blacks who were in the Revolutionary War. Great historical film, and bringing to light, a lot of our history that people might be unaware of. But Mercy Warren was a political writer. She was a propagandist. She would write poems and plays that attacked the royal authority there in Massachusetts, and she encouraged, the resistance against the British. And she actually published her things under her own name, which was sort of unknown at the time for a woman to do so. And then she actually wrote the first history of the American Revolution that was authored by a woman. It was called The History of the Rise, Progress, and Termination of the American Revolution. So she was quite a feminist for her day.
I love that.
Very educated woman. So it'll be a fun role to continue to research and to play. So, and I really look forward to working with Robert. He's a wonderful, wonderful guy and very talented, and I just give him such enormous credit for all the research that he's had to do, because he's taken great pains and very meticulous to research the history, because the authenticity and the accuracy is very, very important to him. And I just give him kudos for that, and I applaud him for the tremendous effort it takes to bring a project together of such magnitude.
Absolutely, definitely, for sure. And what else do you have coming up, Rebecca?
Well, I just finished a faith-based movie called Canaan Land. It's in post-production right now. In fact, I'm doing a long interview for it that is taping a promotional thing. Day after tomorrow, filming all around Hollywood at the different locations where the film takes place. But I play an evangelist and a gospel singer, and it kind of exposes the frauds in the church. This guy who, is all about the money, and Sarah Sunday, who is my character, is pure of heart, and so there's conflict there when they come together. So they actually did a novella of it right now since the COVID hit, and post-production was shut down, and some last things they wanted to shoot. So they've done a book called Canaan Land. I think you can find it on Amazon, and it's sort of is a pre-promotion for the movie itself. So I'm excited about that, and I have another faith-based project that is in development right now, and they've written a wonderful role for me as the wife of a pastor who is murdered, and then all the things that take place in church after he's gone, and new young pastor comes in, a black rapper who's also a pastor. It's a wonderful story and brings life back into the church, and it's a lot of music involved, so that'll be really a fun project. And I'm producing it with my fellow producers, and we're very, very enthusiastic about this one. So lots of stuff still going on, even though life seems to be at a standstill and production seems to be at a standstill.
Right.
But we keep on plugging.
Absolutely, and you'll come back on the show to talk about it when it's more into fruition.
I would absolutely love to do that.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much on that part. Now, where can everybody find you? Where can all your fans find you on social media?
I have a Facebook account, and my website is www.rebeccaholden.com. www.rebeccaholden.com. And you can write me at the website. Rebecca@rebeccaholden.com.
It is such a pleasure to have you on. I'm afraid I'm going to lose you here because power is blinking on and off, and
oh my goodness! Well, don't get caught in the storm. Stay safe.
I appreciate you coming on, and I apologize for being a little shorter than normal, Rebecca, because you're a wonderful guest.
Not a problem at all. We have all the time in the future to visit again.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, please check out Miss Rebecca Holden everywhere. She's absolutely fantastic and a really, really nice lady at that, too, besides being a talented actress and singer.